Friday, Mexico City. Two red cars light up the timing screens. Lewis Hamilton, Charles Leclerc, both at the sharp end, both pushing like they found something the rest of the grid hasn't. This wasn't supposed to happen. Not here. Not at 2,000 meters above sea level, where thin air punishes mistakes and exposes every weakness. But Ferrari, they looked reborn. After 19 races without a podium for Hamilton, after months of chasing stability and fighting unpredictability, something has finally clicked. The question isn't whether Ferrari is fast anymore. It's whether this is the moment everything changes. Because when Lewis Hamilton speaks with quiet confidence about game-changing results, you listen. From the very first lap of FP2, the paddock knew something was different. Charles Leclerc set a 1-minute 17.545, not just fast, surgical. The SF-25 looked glued to the tarmac through the stadium section, clipping apexes with millimetric precision. No sliding, no corrections, just pure controlled aggression. Then came Hamilton. He'd missed FP1, jumping straight into the car for the afternoon session. Within minutes, his feedback was sharp. His lines were aggressive. And the confidence? Unmistakable. You could see it in the telemetry, in his body language. A driver finally at one with the machine beneath him. His long run times on the softs? Low 1:22 seconds, lap after lap, almost no degradation. The kind of consistency that makes engineers smile because it shows the car is working exactly as intended. But here's where it gets interesting. Ferrari's deficit to Red Bull on the straights? Less than 1/10 of a second. In the corners? They were carrying several kilometers per hour more minimum speed than McLaren or Mercedes. Through turns 13 and 14, where last year Ferrari struggled with rotation and rear instability, both drivers now attacked without hesitation. No fighting the rear end, no compromising exits. This wasn't luck. This was evolution. The thermal management approach introduced after Austin was working. Tire temperatures stayed inside the ideal window. No graining, no blistering, just predictable, sustainable pace. And when Hamilton used the word predictable to describe the SF-25, that told you everything. Because predictability is confidence. It means the car does what you expect when you expect it. After months of chasing that feeling, Hamilton finally has it. Ferrari arrived in Mexico with quiet conviction. Not hope, not optimism, conviction. Hamilton's words before the weekend carried a different weight this time. No frustration, no doubt. Just calm certainty that Ferrari might finally be ready to turn potential into performance. Game-changing results, he called it. And though Hamilton isn't one for exaggeration, that phrase captured the attention of the entire paddock. But here's the thing most people missed. This breakthrough didn't come from radical upgrades or lucky conditions. It came from elimination. Ferrari spent the last few races removing inconsistencies one by one. They refined suspension geometry, adjusted ride height control to prevent floor wear, recalibrated aerodynamic load distribution to make the car more forgiving during long stints. Not a revolution, an evolution. And Mexico? It's the perfect place to prove it works. The Autódromo Hermanos Rodriguez sits over 2,000 meters above sea level. Thin air, reduced downforce, engines breathing less efficiently. Everything that should hurt Ferrari, except it doesn't. Because Ferrari's high downforce design, often criticized for slowing them down on straights, suddenly becomes an advantage here. The thin air naturally reduces drag, helping the SF-25 achieve higher top speeds without sacrificing cornering stability. It's one of those rare circuits where Ferrari's fundamental design philosophy finally plays in their favor. Hamilton acknowledged this during media day. He emphasized that Ferrari now understands the sweet spot of the car, particularly in how it brings tires into the correct temperature range. That's critical in Mexico. The long straights cool the front tires too much. The slow stadium section can overheat the rears within laps. If Ferrari's tire management improvements carry over from Austin, they could deliver the kind of consistent race pace needed for a podium challenge, and the data from FP2 suggested exactly that. While Max Verstappen's Red Bull logged a consistent 1 minute 22.6 seconds average during race simulations, Hamilton and Leclerc were right there within a tenth, while showing less drop-off in tire performance. Ferrari's biggest weakness earlier this year had been managing tire temperatures, overheating the rears in hot conditions, struggling to keep the fronts alive on longer runs. But now, the SF25 maintained competitive pace lap after lap, stable, predictable, fast. Leclerc summed it up perfectly. The car felt alive again. This wasn't just about one good practice session. This was about validation. Ferrari needed to prove to itself that Austin was no fluke, that the car's performance came from genuine progress, not external conditions. And if they could replicate that pace in Mexico, where grip and stability are constantly tested, it would confirm that the SF25 has evolved beyond its mid-season limitations. Hamilton's mindset reflected that same belief. He wasn't talking about miracles or luck. He was talking about momentum, about finding rhythm in a season that's been anything but predictable. For a driver 19 races into his Ferrari career without a single podium, the hunger was undeniable. But this time, it was tempered with patience and confidence rather than desperation. The psychological shift within Ferrari was visible. Gone were the cautious tones and careful optimism. This was raw confidence backed by numbers. Meanwhile, their rivals were struggling. McLaren looked completely out of sync with the circuit. Both Norris and Piastri battled with power delivery and traction, the car visibly sliding through the slow sections. Mercedes faced their own difficulties, unable to find consistent balance in the thin air. Red Bull, though still fast, had struggled recently with setup consistency. Ferrari, by comparison, looked methodical and calm. Every lap seemed part of a carefully executed plan. The SF25 no longer appeared fragile or temperamental. It looked like a weapon. So, where does this leave us? Scenario 1, Ferrari executes perfectly. Clean qualifying inside the top 5. Strategic tire management. Hamilton finally claims that elusive first podium in red. Not through luck, but through pure performance. The breakthrough everyone's been waiting for. Scenario 2. Mexico confirms the progress, but the podium stays just out of reach. Ferrari fights with McLaren and Mercedes, proving they belong at the front again. Hamilton leaves knowing the next breakthrough is coming. Soon. Scenario 3. The thin air exposes something Ferrari missed. The car reverts to its unpredictable self. The dream dies in qualifying, and Hamilton's wait continues. Another lesson learned in a season full of them. But if you watched FP2, you know which scenario feels most likely. Because Ferrari didn't just look fast. They looked complete. Has Ferrari finally cracked the code? Or is this just another false dawn in a season full of them? Can Hamilton end his podium drought at one of Formula One's most demanding circuits? One thing's certain. The lights go out Sunday afternoon, and Ferrari isn't arriving with hope anymore. They're arriving with belief. If you made it this far, you already know. This isn't just about one weekend in Mexico. It's about whether Ferrari's long, painful journey through 2025 is finally leading somewhere. So tell me, is this the moment Lewis Hamilton's Ferrari chapter truly begins?